And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time is for anyone watching. Bobby, welcome. It's so good to have you again. It seems like 2 weeks has gone so fast.
Yes.
I kept thinking, oh, when have I got Bobby? When have I got Bobby? And then I realised, that it's 2 weeks but however, it's gone so fast. So it's great to have you back again. And today we are going to be talking about overcoming MindShift, of course. MindShift Mastery is our general title topic. And today we're going to be talking about breaking barriers and overcoming obstacles. And what we're going to cover today is insights into the barriers that may be limiting us, practicals, or you and us, practical solutions and actionable steps to overcome obstacles, and real life success stories of people who triumphed over adversity. So welcome, Bobby. Great to have you here. I know you'll have amazing contribution in this and a lot to say. So handing over to you. How are you today?
I'm good, Karen, and it feels like it's because we actually met face to face again at Edward Zia's networking. So sometimes you feel like it's been we've already had a couple of these events, but this is only the second one, and we've got a whole heap of information coming up and loads of episodes up until Christmas. I think we're going to. So this information we're providing is going to be very timely. We know that Christmas can be a stressful time for a lot of people. Sometimes we're forced into houses or dinners or parties that we don't really want to go to around people that sometimes aren't our best supporters, and that can really affect our mental health. So I think that this is really timely for people to understand a bit more about how they can change their mindset and especially overcoming obstacles, and to understand that we're not alone. And we were just talking about it before we came on live, that it's important that we understand that. And I think that's a key message for me is you're never alone. You're only alone if you isolate yourself. If you go out there and speak to people, you will find that most of the time that whatever is going on with you, other people have been through it or going through it. And having those people around you to support you through your journey or wherever it might be is really important to give you a bit more peace of mind, to understand that it's not just you. And sometimes that can sound harsh. It's not only you that's going through this, but as we know with networking and in business, that we do surround ourselves by like-minded people. So when it's not going so well, we can go and speak to people, and we go and speak to people who have walked the walk that we're doing or similar, and it can give you a bit of a change in the way that you see things, because someone can go, yes, I've been through that. It is really difficult, but you'll get through whatever it is you're going through. And I'm intrigued to see how this conversation goes. And but I think if we can all understand that we are our own worst enemy in here sometimes, and we can think about things that are going on in the world that are pretty crazy. But it's all about having a good idea in your head of knowing that whatever you're going through will pass. Whatever is going to happen, whether it's good or bad, these things will always pass. Everything is a cycle, and we have to be able to understand and know when we're going through something that, hey, yes, this might feel like the end of the world right now, but it's not. It's not the end of the world, and you can get through that. And that might take days, weeks, months. But as long as we can put an actionable plan in place, then we can understand when we're going to come out of whatever it is we're in at the moment.
Yes, thank you, Bobby. And so I don't know if any of you, it's really interesting. This theme has been very prominent over the last week or two, because Boss Lady Summit was talking about our biggest challenges. And other podcasts and events have also brought up this. And so I just wanted to share that. So I've actually shared, and then I shared on LinkedIn, because most people here are on LinkedIn. I shared, I think it was on Sunday, about the motorcycle accident that I had. And so, but I just want to help people through by talking about a couple of my biggest challenges, adversities, or situations. And one was the one I talked about on Boss Ladies Summit. You can go and listen to it. And that was when my marriage broke up. And I didn't see it coming. So I had 3 little children, twins of 7 and a 4-year-old. And it really hit me from left field. I did not see it coming until very close to the time. And I assumed, as I said on Boss Lady Summit, my parents are still married. They are now 89 and 91. And, I grew up in a family where I assumed that when you got married, you were together for life. And so it really hit me hard. And as I said, when it happened, I felt like I had failed. I lost a lot of confidence. I actually got depressed at one point too. And I struggled for a while, and I made a decision. And this is what I wanted to say, is that we had a business together, my husband and I, and it was a good business, and it provided us with a good standard of living. And so I made a decision to stay in the business together with him, and we did it for 12 years after we'd separated. And, people talk about, well, I have to do something. One of the ladies said, I was stuck. I had to go to work because I had to go into this job because I had to do it because, I needed the income. And I just wanted to, say to people that you don't have to do anything. It's a choice. I made a choice to stay in that business because I wanted what that would get me. I wanted to be able to continue to live the life that we'd been accustomed to, and to know I had control over the financials and bring up my children the same way. And it wasn't great for me personally and mentally and emotionally. However, I always kept telling myself, I've chosen to do this, right? I don't have to do it. There are other options. I've chosen to do this. And so I think one of the things I want to give the people watching is to remember that we can make, if we look at things where we've made a choice, because we've so deeply programmed in pattern. And so we say things, which means that we end up thinking them all the time. That just come out of our mouth like, I have to go to work. I have to do this. When in fact, those are already negative, low energy statements, low frequency statements, because you're putting yourself in a place where something else is controlling and making you do things. Whereas if you say, I choose to go to work because I like what I get from it, I like the income I get, and you start to change your thinking, it changes everything. It changes your perception. So that's the first thing, is remember that you've always got a choice. And the second thing to get through anything is always look for the good. Always look for the good that's come out of that situation, because if you look for something good, you will find it, even if it's only the learning you get from being in that situation. There's always something. And as I say, the learning alone that we get, which makes us more compassionate about that situation when other people are going through it, is huge. It's huge. That alone, when we can be empathetic or supportive to other people who've been through that, because people who haven't been through that similar situation, whatever it is, for me, I'm talking about my marriage breakup, they've got no idea what it is actually like. So those are my 2 starting out tips, is remember you've always got a choice, and make choices. Don't feel like you have to do things. Do something because you've made a choice and chosen to, after thinking about it seriously. And secondly, look for the good. Always look for the good, because there will be something good that you can take away from it. And and when you do that, then it's the way that you respond. So instead of reacting, we want to respond. So for an example of that is, when the fires or floods have happened frequently in Australia over the last few years, serious floods near Brisbane, serious fires frequently all over the country. And often the reporters, just imagine this, the reporters are there after the big floods near, where was it, Bobby? They were near Brisbane. It starts with L, the place. Anyway, near Brisbane. And the reporters were there, and all, people were like standing on the side of the huge river that had overflowed and washed their houses away. And their houses were in water up to their roofs. And this reporter went up to one couple and said, "Hi, I'm really sorry. We're reporting on this. I'd like to ask you, what does this mean to you?" And this couple said, "Oh, we're just devastated. We're just absolutely devastated. We've lost everything. We have no idea how we're going to move forward in life. It's just so bad. We're so devastated. We just don't know what we're going to do." And the reporter commiserated with them and moved on to another couple and said, "I'm interviewing people who are going through this. What's it like for you?" And they said, "Oh, we're just so grateful. We're just so grateful that we're alive and we've got everything that matters to us. We can start again. We can move forward, even though we've lost our house. We've got our lives. We've got our family. We've got our pets or whatever, And that's what I mean by that. Two people can be in exactly the same situation and react differently. And it's responding rather than reacting. When you think about responding, and you think about it in an empowering way like that changes your whole experience. So we want to get into response.
And you're so right. You have a choice of how you want to think about something, and you might feel it's a real negative side. I had something over the weekend. Mine's nothing compared to a flood, but just to give it to people, some perspective about how we can think about our own problems and think how big they are, but really they're not as big as what other people can go through. And so I use a video recording system in my business, an interview recording system, and I pay annually for it. And it was time for me to renew my membership. And I was like, it's a whole heap of money out of my business. It's coming to Christmas, things kind of slow down. And I was kind of like, oh, but then today when I paid that bill, I had a different mindset of, that means I can use that system for another year. That means that all my clients who are going to use that, I'm going to get more clients because I'm using this system. And so I used a positive mindset around it rather than going, oh, I've got to spend my money on this program. It was, cool, I can go and use this program again for another year, which is going to help me get more clients and find more candidates for people. So I use it in a positive way, and that bill's now paid for the whole next 12 months. So every candidate that we bring in is going to be interviewed by this platform. It's going to save me time. It's going to save us money in the long run. And so by having that shift in that mindset, rather than me coming into Monday being, oh, I had to go and spend X amount of money, it was, cool, I'm in it for another year. I've got another year. I've got another year of clients I'm going to help. I've got another year of candidates I'm going to get jobs. And so we can always look into what the good is. And like as an example for those people who lost their homes in the floods, yes, it's devastating. I mean, obviously it's heartbreaking to go through that, but it could have been so much worse. And you are still here now to rebuild. And yes, that might take 5-10 years, but at least you have the opportunity to do that. And having that right mindset of going, okay, cool, okay, well, let's go again, and having that kind of mentality and the ability to see the good in everything that's around you helps you be more positive. And it makes life so much easier when you wake up to the day and go, cool, let's go, whatever it is, I'm just going to bring it on, rather than having to sit there and be thinking about all the worst things that can happen. Because generally, if you start thinking about those things, as we know, we see it all the time. Yeah, we've probably all got friends who all the bad things seem to happen to, but they also sit there and think about those bad things. And then you think, well, you're just attracting that. And so I try and sit here and look at the beauty. Like now it's raining, it's pouring down with rain here. And most people will be like, oh my God, well, I'm on the Sunshine Coast, it should be sunny. But I look at it and go, thank God, because that means at least the grass is going to get some water, the plants are going to get some stuff. because I was just driving around on Saturday and looking around, and all of the bush was very brown. I'm thinking, oh, it's not even summer yet. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's going to be really tough. But, you know, I'm really grateful for the rain to come, even though some people will see it as a downside. But we need it. We need the rain, especially where we are, because we don't know when it's going to come again. And you know, we've already been talking about droughts and things like that, and so we have to be grateful for the dreary days.
Yeah, and you know, I love that you've brought that up, Bobby, because that's the thing. Like I said, we're patterned to complain. Actually, we're patterned and programmed to think in a complaining way. And not only is it that you're thinking about the bad, and I'm saying think about the good, but when we bring the quantum physics into it, we actually, when we're thinking in a contractive way, we're operating at a low frequency. Our thoughts and our emotions are at a measurable energetic frequency, and it's below 300. And when we do the opposite and open up and think in an expansive way about something, about the positive side of it, like you said, and you know, one of the things we teach in one of my programs is to bless the bills when you pay them. So good that you talked about that. Is actually when you pay each bill to actually think positively and thank that provider in your head for giving you that service or that product, and for you being able and have the money to pay it right then and there, you know, regardless of whether it means you have to juggle things. Because once again, it's the reason why we do this is to teach people to move their frequency up to that above 300 and more like 500. Because that's the reality of the quantum physics and neuroscience, is that we attract, it's like tuning in on the radio. It's like you cannot pick up the Discovery Channel when you're tuned into constantly negative news, you know, CNN. You can't. You've got to change your frequency that you're tuned into, and that's exactly in reality how it works with our lives and our interaction in the universe. So people don't really understand. They know, yes, it's good to think positively. They know, yes, it's great not to dwell on the negative. But when you understand that this is actually neurophysics and neuroscience and quantum physics, and it's true and it works, and that's why the universe gives us back, because we are tuning into that channel. We're tuning into that frequency. Then you understand how important it is to turn adversity into the good, to look for something, and to change our perspective and our view of the world and our way of thinking, because everyone has a different view of the world. We all have filters, and everyone's there's no two situations that you and I, Bobby, would be sitting looking at where we'd have identical view of, because of our different filters. So it's important to understand that we can change we can change our frequency. We can be in control of our thinking, and that's the only thing. Our thinking, our emotions, and our feelings are actually the only thing we have absolute 100% complete control of in our lives.
That's it. You can't control anything else. You can't control anybody or any circumstances. The bill coming in, let's say you get an electricity bill. Okay, it might be quite high. You might have been able to control not using the aircon or the heating, but what you have to remember is that you're paying that bill, and it's giving you light. It's giving you the ability to cook, keep your food fresh, and all these things are very positive. But sometimes we see it as, oh my God, it's an electricity bill. I have to get my car serviced. Great, I've got to pay X amount of money, $500 or whatever it was, to go and get my car serviced. But what it allowed me to do is meant that my car is going to run. It means I'm going to be able to go to help people at networking events and help their businesses and meet new people, because I've had to get my car serviced. And so I look at it in a positive way. And one thing I really try to do in my business is when I paid that bill, I have to remember that even though that money is in my bank account, it's not money that I've put in my bank account. That is actually someone else's money. That's my clients who've used my service, who've paid that money. And so I would say to myself, hey, at least you're not using your own money. I'm not having to put my money into the business. I'm using somebody else's in the nicest possible way. and it makes me feel better because I'm kind of like, okay, cool, I've still got my money, and I'm now using the business money to make sure the business can serve more people in the next 12 months. The same way as I got my car service, so I can go to networking events, not only to provide leads for my own businesses, but so I can offer support to other people in those networking events. Can I connect somebody? You know, I met Karen through those events, and you never know where it's going to take you. So if I didn't have a car, it means I wouldn't get to a networking event, which probably means I wouldn't have met Karen. And so good things happen, but you've got to look into that and go, yes, I have to pay out this money and the car needed servicing, but the positive stuff that happens because I've got the car serviced outweighs the cost of getting the car serviced.
Yeah, very true. And as you say, it's all about changing that, just flicking a little, just tweaking it a little bit, so that instead of us operating in a negative, have to, you know, should kind of mindset, don't have any choice.
Always a choice.
A little bit to, as you say, be grateful, because of course gratitude is one of the most powerful ways of raising your frequency. And so to, as you say, be grateful for those things, because you know what they're going to bring, or what the outcome of having that service and paying for that service is. Being grateful then changes the way, once again, that we view it, the way that we feel about it. And of course, the other thing, another tip, because we promised we'd give some real, some practical solutions and steps to overcome obstacles. Another tip around gratitude, which I've mentioned before, is that it's wonderful to be grateful for what we have in our lives. It's a practice that gives us a lot of benefit if we do it in the morning when we first wake up, or even when we're not quite fully awake, when we're just stirring and start to think of a few things that we're really grateful for, like that I woke up this morning, that, you know, I've got a home that I'm living in to wake up in, that I've got a partner who, you know, a wonderful partner who I love, all sorts of things we can think of. My children are well. You know, my parents are still with us. All sorts of things we can think of when we make an effort. However, the other thing that's even more empowering is to be grateful for what we want in our lives, what we want to create that isn't present yet. And if we give gratitude for that as if it's already happened, that really helps the process of tuning into that frequency and bringing it to us. And what will happen is, when you give gratitude, you make a commitment, you make a decision that this is where I'm going, this is my destination, this is what I want to achieve, do, have in my life. It's like turning on your reticular activation system. And what happens is people, circumstances, situations will just show up for us to make a choice, once again, whether we're going to do that or not. But there will be things that will help you to move forward. And, you know, I was just talking to one of our networking team, our networking guests, who I've met a couple of times in Brisbane. And she was talking to me about her new business. I won't say her name, but she was talking to me about her new business, which is an online business, an online store with products. It's not a service business, it's a product business. And she said to me, oh, you know, so it's going to take some time to get going. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, new businesses and this kind of business and all of this, it's not going to happen quickly. It's going to take quite a long time to get up and going. And so I said to her, you know what, if you believe that, have you heard of the saying by Henry Ford? If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you are right. Yes. And she said, no. And I said, well, it's a well-known, you know, saying. Hi, Wasim. And hi, Karen. And I said, what it means is whatever you think is going to happen. Whatever you believe is going to happen. So if you think that your business is going to take a long time to get up and running, then it will, because you're telling the universe that's what you want. And so anyway, I made a suggestion to her about taking some action and about a way that could help you. And it was an event that was on that was to do with the product that she sells. And I said, why don't you, they're looking for donations from people to run a raffle. I said, look, you've got the products that relate to this event. Why? And it was a charitable event, okay, a charity event, raising funds, actually raising funds for Aussie wildlife. And I said to her, look, why don't you offer, you don't have to give a lot, but why don't you offer to give something to the raffle and your business will be promoted?
Mm-hmm.
She said, oh, okay. So I said, look, I'll connect you to the person who's organising it. So I connected her. I actually rang her myself or spoke to her myself. And she said, oh, actually, yeah. She said she can have a stall. She can have a stall at this and she'll get 2 free tickets with it. And she can put her products on display and sell them there or direct people to her website or whatever. So I told her and she said, oh, you're putting me, you're throwing me right in it. And I said, yeah, that's right. And that's because you said you wanted. She changed while I was talking to her and she said, I do want to grow my business. I don't want it to necessarily take a long time. And I said, right, as soon as you make a commitment and a decision that this is what you're doing, this is what you want, and you forget all the other negative stuff about how long it's going to take, opportunities will show up and then you have the choice. And I said to her, you've got the choice. You don't have to do it. And she got all the fear came up and all of those things. Yes, and the procrastination and the putting, I don't know how, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, it's an opportunity. This is an opportunity to grow your business. It's up to you. Anyway, she's taking it, which is amazing. But that's what happens.
First steps.
Show up.
And you say yes to things. You go and do it. And there's a lot of business coaches out there you've got to be careful of saying yes to so many things. And I understand that, but you've got to say yes to things. Go and do that. You don't know who you're going to meet. And with that Henry Ford saying, the best thing about it is it doesn't cost you anything. Most things in life cost you money or time or whatever. This is just in your own head. So if you're thinking that this is not going to work, this business, then you're right. And I say a lot of times to people, if you think you're ugly, then yeah, you're right. Then your brain's going to think that you are ugly. And so what difference does it make if you go out there and think you're not ugly? If you think your business is going to build $50 million in 5 years' time or whatever it is, it doesn't cost you anything. All it does is it's just your thoughts about you thinking about it. But once you start thinking about things like that and you consistently think about it, what starts to happen in my brain is, if you want to earn $50 million, then you better start doing some stuff that you can go and earn $50 million with. Okay, well, what's that? Oh, you need to go and do some face-to-face networking. And as you've seen, I've done lots of that over the last few months. I was fearful. I was scared of doing it. I was so scared of going out of my comfort zone, which was online, which again, before that, I was scared of doing online networking. And now I walk into a room and people go, oh, it's Bobby. It's Bobby. It's Bob. Yeah. And it's so powerful. And when you walk into a room where I'm in Brisbane and someone comes into me going, hey, have you ever been to the Gold Coast? I go, no, I've not done any networking on the Gold Coast. So, well, there's people talking about you in the Gold Coast. And I'd be like, well, because people would come to Brisbane networking, then they'd go back to the Gold Coast, and then they'd come. And all of a sudden, and I've got a really, really cool story to tell you. I met this lady. She was part of the Chamber of Commerce that I'm part of, and we got talking. And she sells jam, and she was like, "Oh, I got this lady come to my house to buy some jam from me." And I was like, "Oh, what's wrong with that?" And she was like, "Well, I don't sell jam from my house. I normally sell it at markets." And I was like, "Oh, don't you have like a subscription model that you can sell her?" And she went, "What's a subscription model?" I was like, "Okay." So I told her what the subscription model was and how it could work with her jam. And then she went, "How to do that?" And I said, "Well, just put it on your website and you can create a subscription." She went, "I don't have a website." I said, "I don't have the money to do that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to come and help you. You can create a website in Canva very basically, simply, and create a subscription model." So it took us about 6 weeks of just going back and forward to get to this point. And then I haven't seen her for about 2 months. And she called me and she went, "I've got my first subscription." And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. She was just now got first subscription for a lady who found her website and she wants to surprise her husband for Christmas. So she's going to get like jams and preserves sent to her for the next 3 months.
Oh, wow. How cool.
And it was so cool. But those things wouldn't have happened if we, hadn't met at the right time. She hadn't turned up at the Chamber of Commerce, said yes to, let me show you what a subscription model is. And so, yes, she overloaded herself with work, but she put it into her mind. And every time she would call me, she went, I've had no visitors on the website. I've had this. I went, you just got to keep going. Don't, because if you stop, then nothing's going to happen. So you got to keep going, got to keep going. And then all of a sudden, this lady out of nowhere has now, and it was funny because she didn't know how to do the subscription because it hadn't gone through properly. So we were trying to work out how it worked. And she went, how do you know how to do this? And I went, I don't. I just give it a go. and this is what I love about the world is people think that everyone's got it sorted and everyone's got a plan. It's what people might have a plan, but half the time people just giving it a go. Just like, okay, well, and the people who give it a go are taking the risk, and that's when you get the rewards. You look at Richard Branson, Henry Ford, all these people, all these brands that we see, they would have taken risk after risk after risk.
That's right.
I was talking about Elon Musk the other day, and people were like, yeah, but he's got no worries. I went, he's got more worries than anybody. Imagine looking at a profit and loss that is billions. Oh my God, I hate it when I look at mine, and I've got thousands in mine. Imagine trying to deal with, oh my God, I couldn't. The stress levels that guy must have dealing with that amount of businesses and that amount of money. Just because people have got money doesn't mean they've got it made. They still have a lot of risk, and a lot of people rely on people like that. There's lots of businesses that are in part of that. So my message to people is, if you are doing something and you want it to work, then you've got to imagine it working. You're going to get might take 50 steps to get to that win, and you might have 49 fails through that. And the prime example is WD-40. WD-40, they went through 39 variations until they got to the winning one, which was that's why they call it WD-40. So imagine if they stopped on the second one. We would not have WD-40. So,
yeah, that's great, Bobby. And that the thing, never give up. And you brought up entrepreneurs, and that's probably a mindset of entrepreneurs or business owners more than people who work for an employee. There is a bit of different mindset here. Like you say, it requires a huge amount of risk taking and courage. And it's interesting, though, that you talk about the mindset. And you know how there's this belief out there, and statistics can be really dangerous because statistics can tell any story, depending on how they're portrayed, for one thing. So there's a statistic out there that 20%, that 80% of all businesses will fail in the first 2 years. Has anyone heard that? You heard that, right? Well, when I grew up, my dad told me that my dad had a successful business. My grandfather was in business. And when I grew up, my dad told me that I could have my own business when I grew up and I could do whatever I want. And so I believed him. And I believed that when I had my own business, it would be successful like my dad's was. Okay. And so when I started my one of my bigger main businesses, or any of them actually, but one we had for 25 years in the automotive industry, and we started from absolutely nothing. We had a few $1,000s that was a loan from my dad, and we had no idea how we were going to pay for more than probably a couple of months of rent and things. I never gave that belief a thought that we might fail in the first 2 years. Never gave it a thought, because my dad had told me I could have my own business when I grew up, and I believed that belief. I believed that belief, and that my business would be successful like my dad's. So I never gave the fact that I could be one of the 80% of businesses that fail in the first 2 years. I never had that belief. And so guess what? Because of that, I took different action. I had a belief, this business is going to thrive. We're going to be successful. And therefore, I took action to make it be successful, which is very different to I'm going to start something. I'll see how it goes. I'll see how the economy is. maybe the economy will be kind, or maybe there'll be a crash coming up. You know, maybe we'll survive, or maybe it won't. Maybe we'll be one of the 20% who survive, or maybe we'll be one of the 80% who don't. I had none of those thoughts. And remember, what we focus on, what we pay our, the universe thinks, what we pay our attention to is our intention. This is why it's so important. The universe thinks what we pay our attention to, which is what we're focusing on, is our intention. And all the universe wants to do is give us our intention. It doesn't make any judgment. It doesn't make any calls. It just says, here's what they want. Here it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's so right. And you talk about like listening or tuning into things, and it just reminds me of television. Like, and the word television, it says it there, television. It's someone's vision, and the channels are then channeling information to you. And if we watch the news channel, that is them channeling you whatever they want, whether it's right or wrong, whatever it is. And we can control that. And you mentioned employees before, and it's like when you're going to apply for a job, okay, you think your time's up at a certain company and you want to move on, and you go, okay, well, I'm going to get a new job. Okay, so you've made that decision to go and get that, and you might have found your ideal job, your dream job, and you go to Seek, you see the ad, and you go and click on quick apply because you think that is the right way to do it, and then you don't get the job and you're disappointed, and you go, well, what you tried to do is try to get to the goal of what you wanted without going through the hard work. And the hard work is that you need to sit down with your resume, rewrite that resume in line with that job, so you're in the right line of that job. And I'm like, that takes time to do that. And so many people, we see it all the time in recruitment. We look at an advert, a resume that comes through, or a cover letter. And let's say we're advertising for an administrator. And on the cover letter, it goes, I'm applying for your job as a customer service advisor. And you just know straight away that it's just a quick apply button. They haven't even taken their time to rewrite their cover letter. And so we have a vision, and we have to have that vision fixated in our mind of what that goal is. But we have to make sure we complete the steps to get to that. And those steps when you're applying for a job is rewrite your resume in line so it matches what that person is looking for. In business, we're talking about goals of creating $50 million business. Well, then I need to be following the steps to be able to go and do that. If I just sit here and wait for it to come to me, yes, there might be a small chance that it might happen. But the best thing about it all is it makes your day-to-day life so much better when you have a positive goal that you're going for, and you can go, okay, well, today's really rubbish. It's a Monday. It's dreary. I don't really want to do anything, but I've got the steps. And people go, what are those steps? And I go, they're in my calendar. I've got to write a post for my LinkedIn posting parties in the calendar. I've got a meeting with you. I've got a meeting with somebody else. I need to do my books. All those things are in my calendar to all the steps I've got to complete. So when I'm having a really rubbish day, like normally on a Monday, because I don't really want to go and do this stuff, it means I just have to follow those steps, just like a step process. It means that I don't have to. I just follow that. Just follow it. And my calendar is booked out with all these little things. Do this, pay this, go to this, speak to this person, follow up with this person. And so when it comes to it, I can just go, oh, it's there, it's there, it's there. And it's a reminder for me I've got to take those steps to be able to achieve the goal I want, wherever that might be.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good tip too, Bobby. I do the same thing. Is your calendar color coded like mine? Do you have different types of tasks in different colors?
I haven't gone that far, but yeah, I do know people who do that, and mine is just, if it's 8 o'clock and there's a thing there, I just do it. If it's 9 o'clock, I just do it. It doesn't matter whether it's for networking or for simplified, or if it's just whatever it might be. If it's for somebody else, I've got to go and do it. If it's in the calendar, I do it. If it's not in the calendar, then it's not.
It doesn't get done.
That's right. Everything. Have lunch in the calendar. Go for a walk in the calendar. And travel back and forward. It also makes your time really, what's the word? It's makes you get the most out of the time. Yeah, efficient. Yeah, it's so efficient. Because all of a sudden you can see it all day. You go, well, that's gonna, put this in for an hour. Normally okay, a meeting might be for an hour, but let's say I've got to do my books. I book it out for an hour. It takes me 20 minutes, right? And then all of a sudden I feel great about myself because I'm like, oh, I've got a whole 40 minutes now to go and do whatever I want to do with it. But even to the point of, what's the thing you enjoy doing? I have a radio show that I do on a Saturday now. That's like my hobby. And so if I make sure that I put some time in my week to have a think about what I'm going to play on that Saturday, because it makes me feel great. It makes me feel good. And so it makes me feel good because I'm like looking at the music, it brings back memories, and I can imagine what it's going to sound like on the radio. And this might be on a Thursday afternoon that I'm doing this, because we need to leave a breadcrumb trail for ourselves to reward ourselves. And people don't do it often enough. We work all the time, work hard, even if you're an employee, doesn't matter if you're a business owner or not. What are those things that you're going to leave yourself? Okay, well, I've now got to go and do 20 sales calls as an example. After I've done those 20 sales calls, I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great win, isn't it? It's a great win. But people don't do it. Oh, I'm going to go and do the 20 sales calls. Then I'm going to do my notes. Then I'm going to do this. That you can do that tomorrow. Go and reward yourself. So this lady who I did the jams with, it's so funny, right? So her subscriptions, it was $24 a month. Right? And she went out. She went to the RSL, had a steak dinner. Right? So she probably would have spent more money on the steak dinner. And I said to her, go and do it. Go and do it, because you need to be able to tell the universe, hey, I'm really happy. I'm grateful for this, and this is my reward for this. And I guarantee you, there's people watching this who have a service that is thousands of dollars. When was the last time you celebrated when you got that $5,000? Because you're so used to it. You've got to go and do it. You've got to still say, I get goose pimples thinking about it. You've got to go and say, you're grateful. I'm grateful, Karen, for you buying my service. You've now provided me and my team or my family with an extra month's rent, whatever it could be. That's powerful, man. That person didn't have to buy your product. Thank you for the money. Thank you. We've got to be grateful.
That's so true. So we're going to we'll wind up a little bit in a few minutes, Bobby. I just see Latu has come on board too. Hi, Latu. Thanks for joining us, Karen, Wasim, and Latu, and then everyone else who joins later. Is there anything, or did you have another story you wanted to share? Or is there anything else before we wind up, Bobby, that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you, again, it's about business. So it was about just before the end of the financial year. Cash flow was awful. It was terrible. Like, I was literally looking for a job. I had written my resume out for a job and applied for jobs. I'd gone through the process of phone interviews, and every time my heart would sink, because I know that I'm going to work for somebody and get paid way below what I would provide to that business. So I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. And I sat there and I thought, no, this is not going to happen to me. This is not going to happen. I've got so many people I want to help, and for me to be able to do that, I need these businesses to work. And so I sat there and I got back onto gratitude and manifestations, and really taking time out of my day to in the morning. I do it between 8 and 9, and I do it for half an hour, 40 minutes. And a lot of people go, well, that's a long time. I said, because the first 10 minutes of that is me battling my head my head would go, hey, you should be doing resumes, writing a resume rather than thinking about these things. And so it'd take me a while to get into that mood, and then really get into it. And I'd start to, think about it and picture every step of the process. And then, no word of a lie, I was at a networking event, I had a phone call, and it was an old client who'd used us before. And they came and said, hey, we need to hire 2 people. And I was like, that's going to give me another month. It's going to give me another month in my businesses. So, great. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for you for coming back to us, trying to make it sound like I'm not desperate. Thanks for coming back to us. I'm really grateful, obviously, service. Next minute, get another call from someone who I'd networked with for a while, but not spoke to for about a year and a half. And he said, mate, we need to hire 3 people. And literally those 2 calls changed the next 7 to 8 months of my life. Yes. And so every day now, I am grateful. Yes. I'm grateful to them, because And I'm grateful to the next client, because every time the next client comes in, it means that my business can survive for another month or 2 months. A small business, still very young. I don't believe in all that 80% stuff. I think that you only fail when you've decided you want to fail. You can keep going. And so, every win for me, every client means that I can be here for another month. I can go to more networking events. I can introduce my network to amazing people. And so, I have to be grateful for that. So I'm so grateful for those clients who came at that right time. But they came at the right time because of me, not because of anything else. They didn't know, they didn't just sort of suddenly appear. They knew me. I'd done that legwork around them. I'd been around them. I supported them. Even small things like supporting their post on LinkedIn or supporting their Facebook or adding a comment. All these little things would give to the universe, and hopefully they would be grateful for me as well. And it really did change my world. And so every day I wake up and go, I was driving home from a networking event, right? And I was like, I would love to just do this all the time. And then I realized I am doing it all the time. And I wasn't grateful enough for it. It was bonkers. I was like, hold on a minute, you are doing that. You are doing what you wanted to do. 6 months ago, you said I wanted to go and do this. And now you're doing what you wanted to do. And so sometimes we don't see what we should be grateful for because we're already in it. And so be grateful for every step of that journey. It's always a learning process. And that's with everything in life, isn't it? Everything you do in life is always a learning process. But you've got to be grateful for that process and those steps.
Yes, Bobby, yes. And also to remember that you, as you said, those clients came to you because of you, and they also came to you because you were putting it out there that you wanted them, right? Because life does not happen to us. It happens through us. And so, yes, when we put it out there that we want something and we really, really focus on it, we will get it. Chris says, Chris Redmond is back, Bobby, and he says, I think balance is important, and also having a solid business plan so that your celebrations are based on sensible milestones. Yeah, business plans are great. However, a lot of people can spend a lot of time on business plans and they're not taking action with other things that are going to bring them the results. So I agree with business plans as long as they don't hold us up from actually moving forward and taking the actions that are going to get you the results.
And also with the celebration stuff, we go through, I say it all the time to my team. We'll have a sales call. So before the sales call, someone's done an introduction. I celebrate the introduction. Hey, this person's looking to hire. Oh, brilliant. I'm not saying go out and have steak dinner. Like I'm going, yes, that's the first step. They come on the sales call. They actually turn up. That's the second step. I celebrate it. Brilliant. And like people around me think I'm mad. What do you mean? You haven't even got the deal yet. Yeah, but there's 20 steps before the deal. I send the agreement out. They view it. Yes, brilliant. They sign it. Brilliant. They fill the form in. Brilliant. Cool. The money goes in the bank. Brilliant. The ad goes out. Brilliant. The candidate applies. All these steps. The candidate goes for an interview. They actually go to the interview. They get the offer. They accept the offer. They do the references. There's probably about 40 steps that I celebrate, mini celebrations, till the end one is we placed the candidate. And so then that would be, okay, now we're going to go for a steak dinner. But I still get tingles and go, yes, we've got that point, because I'm grateful to get to that point. Because if I look back 4 years ago, I had no clients in my own recruitment business. And so you've got to celebrate those things, because that's the important part, isn't it? The important part, well, to me,
absolutely,
that's what I get the wins from. If I only celebrate the goal at the end, that can be very hard sometimes. That might be months. So I've got to have some win.
Yeah, just let me check my calendar as we talked about. So I've got pink, purple, green, and another purple. And then you're green, we're green, and then I've got another green this afternoon, so I'm okay on time. However, if anyone's got any questions or watching, please put them in now, because we're going to wind up in a minute. Maybe let's just recap or leave people with a closing statement, Bobby, around what we've talked about, because some people have come in a bit later. And so I think if I start to recap, we talked about looking for the good, in everything, every adversity, there's always some good. Look for something that you can, as you say, celebrate or acknowledge as being some good that's come out of it, even if it's only the learning that you've got from it, because there's always a learning. And then being in control of our response rather than reacting, because we do have control. And if we just take a pause, if we just pause before we react and then think to ourselves, well, how would I respond? Or, there's a lovely book about love which says, how would love respond? Which is a great question as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think of things, isn't it? Because it'll just check, if you're coming in with the thought of love with a situation or a response about that, you would talk about it in a different way, because love is powerful, positive.
And then things like we talked about knowing, being in tune with a higher frequency, so being in an expansive mindset as often as we can, because our programming is so strong. And more than ever before, you talked about television and the news. Since television came out, the internet and other technology that's feeding us with information, we have so much more information thrown at us every second now, that it also is an opportunity for those people throwing the information to brainwash us, to program us, and to set us with patterns. And what people don't realize is, with regard to things like hypnotherapy, when we watch television, we are in a trance. Most of us, when we sit and watch something on television, we are in a form of trance. So we're already being hypnotized. And so it's very important to be the gatekeeper at the portal of our mind and just choose what we let in and what we don't. Nobody's put anything up here now. I was just waiting for any comments. So
before we close up, Karen, I want to say something that we didn't mention about the power of writing something down, about writing, okay, what's the situation you're in, write it down, and what's the good things and the bad things.
Yes.
Because there's always going to be something that's going to be positive in that situation, but we have to be able to have the mindset to be able to see that. And so sometimes I write down, okay, well, a client's come on board, I don't really like the vibe of the client, but what's the positives of that and what's the negatives of that? Same with your job. What's the good things about your job? What's the bad things about your job? Sometimes you can think, oh, I just don't like the manager, but it builds up this mindset of you hate the whole company, when really, if you think about it, it's just the manager. You like the other people, you like the job, you like the hours, you like the pay. And so then you can go, what the good outweighs the bad. And so do I need to go and find a new job? Because everything's energy at the end of the day. You're either going to use energy in that job or going to find a new job. So.
Yeah, and I like that you just said that. Everything is energy and energy flows. And so we talked about where we pay our attention, energy goes. So where we focus, energy goes. And then you also mentioned money, and I want to make the point that money is just like energy. It actually doesn't belong to any of us, Bobby. It flows, okay? It goes around in circles. So you've all heard those kind of sayings where so-and-so didn't have the money to buy something, but he went and bought that, and then he went and gave that to the butcher, and then the butcher went and gave that to the whoever, and it all came back to a circle, and it's so true. Came back to the beginning person. And so, it's important to just look at these things with a different perspective, with a different view, and really open our minds and grow our level of awareness around what's going on in here, what's causing us our results. If it is something not that we wouldn't ask for anyone else to happen to them, however, our response is how we deal with it. And so we have that control. We have control over life happening through us, through controlling our response and the way that we respond to anything.
Beautiful. What a great way to finish the show.
Anything you want to add, Bobby?
No, I think that was perfect. I think that, at the end of the day, we have the most powerful tool in the universe in here. Like it's just, iPhone great, internet's great, but this is so powerful. So once you can this is the thing you need to be able to master, and once you've done that, you can really do whatever you want. So
mastering the power of our unconscious. So talking about writing as well, as some of you know, I do a blueprint session where we do actually write what we want in our lives in writing, in detail, in specificity, as if it's already happened. And the reason we do it is because there's a connection between our brain and the paper and the pen and the parts of the brain that occurs when we write on paper that never happens when we type up on a computer or a laptop or an iPad or in our phone. And it's super powerful. So yeah, great stuff, Bobby. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. And if you want to know how, just reach out to Bobby. If there's anything that you want to ask, likewise, reach out to me. We're both on LinkedIn with our names, and you can find us under Bobby Semple or Karen Clark.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Sorry about those dings.
It's okay. Bye.
We'll say goodbye. See you in a couple of weeks.